the Cisco Lobos here. Conrad Hilton Avenue in beautiful Cisco, Texas. Thanks for listening in. We're close by drop-in. Got lots of cookies, coffee registered with us. Mom, they're giving away next week for homecoming. And be sure to thank all the folks here at First Financial Bank for sponsoring our weekly edition of the Cisco Morning Huddle. Last week, the Lobos had a very great test at home against the physical Henrietta Bearcat team in a game that saw the Lobos get a well-earned 23-12 win and pick up another district win. Coach West, tell us how the staff felt coming out of last week's game here at Chesapeake.
Well, we felt very fortunate to win that game. You know, the ball just did not bounce our way. So we came out of that pretty excited that we got to win. But then after watching video, we felt like, just like what the ball did not bounce our way. We fumbled some snaps. We had some things that stopped some drives that if we had just executed a little better, we felt like we could have put another touchdown in and maybe separated ourselves from Henrietta in the third quarter. We were just unable to do that. And obviously part of that was injuries and part of that was some bad snaps that we had with a rookie center and a quarterback that hadn't taken too many snaps from him. But we still felt like, man, that was a pretty good football team that came into town. They weren't scared of us at all. They had a great game plan. They had some pretty dominant players on defense that we had some difficulty with. You know, if I had to do it over again, I definitely would have schemed a few of their D linemen better, and I didn't do a good job of that rolling into Friday night. But definitely I made some mistakes on Friday that I felt like could have helped us hopefully separate, but we still feel pretty privileged, and we feel like that's a pretty good football team.
All right, injuries reared their ugly head again last Friday night. Talk to us about the health of the team going into tonight's game.
We are as unhealthy, I think, as we've been since I've been in Cisco, and it's just the injury bug is hit. And all of those deep runs that we had, we didn't have any injuries. You know, last year, the worst injury we had was Vernon Zoling's hamstring on the trap that he pulled running full speed down the field against Holly. That was the worst injury we had. And it's hit us this year, and that's just part of it. Some years you have those injuries. I think it is important that our kids step up, and young ones, and there's going to be a couple of sophomores this week that have to step up and not just play in big shoes, but be very competitive, you know, not fall off. Have confidence and get the job done. And if we can get that accomplished, we can keep going. But right now we are very unhealthy. Have quite a few starters out.
Injuries, unfortunately, we'll stay with this before we go to break. They're always a part of the game. Like you said, some years worse than others. Some years, we hope that's not the case for this year, but man, they can really rewrite what the season is as far as success or failure goes. It has to be difficult for both you guys as a coaching staff and your players who have worked. You know, you guys know better than we do how hard those guys work to be able to go out on Friday night and have success and do the things that you're asking them to do. How do you deal with that as a coaching staff? You know, what does it mean for you guys to have to go in, kind of give people an idea of how hard that is to sit down and say, okay, who's the next guy up? And then, you know, how do you motivate those guys? You know, they've been on the JV or they've been a backup to come in and feel like they can do what the guys in front of them have been able to.
Well, it is difficult, and it's definitely a challenge. And, you know, on one hand, you'll have a sophomore that gets to move up, and he's excited about the opportunity. And then on the other hand, you have a junior or senior that's worked very hard, that suffered the injury and is out for a few weeks. Coach Brunson has a very good saying that he says quite often. In fact, I hear it about every other day. Life is full of disappointments, and you just don't always get what you want. And that is something that reminds us all of, well, this is just part of life. This is another hurdle in our way, and if you dwell on this, you're just going to get worse, or you can find a way to rise and get over the hurdle and be better from it. And I think that's how we approach most of these injuries is, you know, this is just something that's gotten your way. Find a way to get over it. Be a better person from the injury. Be better when you come back, and also know that it's an exciting time. You're at a time right now that cherish every game, every play, because you might not get to play the next week. Make sure that it's special to you. And I feel like, for the most part, our kids that have suffered these injuries will get right over that hurdle. They'll be right back in a few weeks, and we'll be a stronger team from it.
All right, there you have it. Adversity has set in, but you get to write the chapter, so to speak, on how you handle all that. And looking forward to see some of these younger guys tonight get a chance to step up and play against Nakona. Right now, it's time for us to take our first break. Again, we're live here at First Financial Bank. Stop in, have some coffee, have some cookies. Say hello to everybody here. We'll be back with the Cisco Morning Huddle on KATX in 2 minutes. I pray you're having a great day. Clouds are rolling in. Weather might be a factor. We'll see about that later on. But before we get into tonight's game and last night's action in Nakona, Coach West, let's take just a minute to review last week as far as the district goes. District 2-3, Division 2. Eastland got them a big win at home over City View, 57-28. And Jacksboro picked up their first win of the year. Kind of handling Millsap seemingly fairly easy, and then Holiday, they rebound from their loss to you guys and pick up a 45-0 win over Nakona. What do you think about last week's outcomes in the district?
There was nothing very surprising there. I think that's exactly how I would have picked the outcomes. Frank Johnson over at Holiday got his kids back healthy. He had 3 out against us. He told me over the phone this was a must-win for him. And he got his injured players back. It sounds like they rebounded and played very well last Friday night. I expected even a higher score with Eastland City View, but that Eastland is moving the ball very well, scored 57 points against City View. That's 2 pretty good offenses that were on the field last Friday night. And Jacksboro has suffered a few injuries. They're having some issues there with the injury bug, just like we are. They did handle Millsap, but I was expecting an even bigger win by them. I think that ended up being a fairly close game in the third quarter. That was pretty tight.
And then last night, no JV game, no freshman game. Nakona suffering kind of through some of those same things. But the junior highs go to Nakona last night, and both teams come away with the win. The 7th grade, once again, shutout, and they keep rolling on.
They do. They still haven't been scoring on. They got up 14-0 with just 2 minutes off of the first quarter, and then kind of fizzled. Coach Hearn came in this morning and had watched that game. He said we suffered from jet lag a little bit there. That trip over, I think, affected us a little, and we got ahead and kind of relaxed. We ended up winning that game 28-0, and I think they played pretty well, but probably not as well as we wish they would have. And our expectations are pretty high again for that group. The 8th grade had a big win, 44-6 or 8. Played very well. From what I understand, we wore them down in the second half. We took over and pretty much could do what we wanted to with the ball, and again played pretty well defensively, and we're very physical defensively.
Not trying to put Nakona or Coach Keck down at all with what's going on over there, but how difficult is it for you as a coach in a program trying to keep things going to be in a situation where you find an opponent that, because of injuries or grades or whatever it is, just don't have enough kids out for the sport? They can't field a team at the sub-varsity level.
They are having difficulties over there. They didn't have very many to begin with. I think they started the year with 36, and due to injuries and some kids that are not eligible right now, they are down enough that they can't carry a JV. And the biggest problem for us with that is we've got a lot of kids that need to play. And we have lost a week with our sub-varsity, JV level, that just didn't get a game under their belt. And that's my biggest issue. I think if we'd known prior, if we'd had a few weeks to plan, we probably could have found something. But we couldn't find anything that short in notice to put our boys on the field on Thursday. And it's not Coach Keck's fault. He's doing what he can. Talking to him on the phone, and if it could go wrong, it's going wrong this year for him. They've had also the injury bug and just lots of little problems that he's going through. And we hope that those problems continue tonight. Just one more night of problems, and then things can start going better for them.
Well, not to put any pressure on anybody, but this does give a chance. I know that you guys had talked about moving some kids up off the JV. I think you moved some up anyway, possibly for this week, not really knowing what was happening. This is an opportunity for maybe some of those sophomores, to come up and a few juniors here and there and get a chance to play on Friday night that they might not otherwise get a chance to do. And I visited with Coach Keck just briefly yesterday, and he kind of alluded to, his JV right now is pretty much playing on Friday night. So they've got a chance to go get some guys they might have been going against anyway.
He does. He's got 7 sophomores up right now and 1 freshman actually starting in the secondary. It is not a very experienced varsity football team. And we hope, that we have some opportunities that some of those boys that's playing on the JV level get some varsity time tonight. That may not happen. Our football team's got to go to work tonight. They've got to get the job done first. And if there's an opportunity, we certainly hope that we go in and get some experience and do the job and gain some confidence from it. A young one playing at the varsity level, you want to get some of those games kind of under your belt, that experience, because certainly if we make the playoffs, we need those to be able to come on and run down on a kickoff, do something for us, and it sure is nice to have some varsity reps under your belt.
Kind of put you on a spot, throw in something else here in this segment, but if you guys are able to get what you want done, it's kind of a double-edged sword, I guess. You would like to be able to go in the game and give your starters some rest, but then at the same time they're not having to go 4 quarters if that's what happens. How do you balance that? What are you looking to accomplish from those starters if they do get an opportunity to come off the field?
You're exactly right. It is a double-edged sword. We've got some varsity boys that need 4 quarters of work, and that may happen tonight. But on the other hand, if we're up pretty big, and some of those young ones get to play, then they didn't get the reps, maybe needed to get better. However, we are so banged up right now that we'll take it. We want to limit as many reps as we can tonight for that varsity football team and get some rest and recover. We cannot afford another injury right now. If there's an opportunity, we certainly will pull those kids off the field and let someone else play in their spot and gain some experience. But there may not be. We may not have that opportunity tonight. Kona is probably going to get after us. We could have some weather roll in. We're already struggling from taking snaps from under center. We have a few fumbles. Things just don't go right. And that varsity football team will have to play 4 quarters. And we're going to just sit back and see what happens. Just hopefully play hard and stay healthy.
All right, there you have it. Second segment of the Cisco Morning Huddle live here at First Financial Bank in Cisco, Texas. Time for us to step away for just a few minutes. First Financial Bank in Cisco. Once again, you're tuned in to the Cisco Morning Huddle. I want to remind everyone that they're giving away a homecoming line that's on display down here at the lobby, and you can come in, sign up for that. I believe the drawing is next Monday. It's free. That'll give you enough time to not only win it, but then get it down to whoever, Marcia's or someone, and let them personalize it for you if that's what you need to do. So be sure to come register for that, or if you have a kiddo that would like to have it, maybe get it for them. Encourage them to come do that. So be sure to stop by the lobby here at First Financial Bank, just off the Interstate 20, and you can take care of that. Coach West, last week you mentioned your concern with the team having to deal with bringing up a player from the JV to play at center on the varsity level without disrupting the flow of the offense, and nothing at all against Silas. Watching him play the last few years, he gets after it and goes as hard as he can all the time. But he and Taylor, they did struggle a little bit and found themselves, the center, he's touching the ball every play. And it's kind of a position where, if something goes wrong, everybody knows it's him or the quarterback. Something's not right there. But despite what happened in the game, they still managed to develop a little bit of rhythm, at least enough for you guys to get the win. Has this week gone better for them, or maybe what have you guys done to help that situation?
It has been better. That we talked about this at Booster Club the other night. You take about 10,000 snaps from your first string center, which at the time was Jed Pond, and they developed a little relationship where they get that right. We had very, very few fumbles, even in a practice, from the gun or from under under center. But now you throw a new one in, and it's just totally different. And playing the quarterback position, I can tell you, I had a hard time with a new center that ever had to come in. There was just going to be fumbles. But you'll also see that at the college level when that happens. The NFL is going to have the same issue. It's different. It's just something that we are understanding that we're simply going to have some exchange issues. And last week, we had enough of them that I had to get from under center to the gun. We get down to the goal line, and we're in the shotgun. I can't get under center because I just didn't trust the snap. I heard somebody yelling at me at one point down there where we're in the gun on a 3rd and 1. I think it was my daddy. He's yelling at me, "What are you doing, son?" And I'm being a little sarcastic there, but we really, at some point last week, we needed to be under center there in that 2nd quarter, and I was unable to do it, risking a turnover, and also all the timing. Every time we pulled the guard, he was running into our center because the exchange was bobbled more times than not. What we did to change that is kind of an old school snap. It's a 2-handed snap. Massey will hold his hands differently. It will not be your average snap that you take where he can drop that left hand. Both hands will be up, thumbs will be together, and it's just an old school snap. I don't even know what you call it. We actually run it at the 7th grade level. If we've ever had issues, we'll change it to that type of snap. We call it the wolf snap. But it's been better. We've had very few fumbles from it in practice, but they still exist. We changed his gun snap as well, more of a dead ball snap, and hopefully we will not run into the same issues that we run into last week. But if we do, let's just survive it. I've told the defense, hey, if we fumble a snap and they recover it, rejoice that you get to go play defense. And that's the attitude that we're going to have when you're going through problems such as these. And that'll eliminate a series. One bobbled snap against a good team like Henrietta eliminated that series, forced us to punt, or we lost the snap to the defense on the recovery. But again, it's a hurdle that we must get over, and we must handle it in the right way, and the defense must rejoice that we get to step back on the field when it happens, and it will happen tonight. Our expectations are that they will happen. So just eat that up and understand that here it comes and find a way to get through it.
I know you mentioned last week, despite the changes that you had with the center and the problems that created, you just mentioned last week that overall, the practices weren't very good last week. The kids didn't respond very well, and you didn't feel like as a team that they had improved. Has that changed this week? Has it been a little better?
It has changed. I think our seniors stepped up. I think they saw what happened. We were lackadaisical Monday and lackadaisical Tuesday. We had a lackadaisical Wednesday practice leading up to Henrietta. Well, it's too late now. I don't care how well you get after it against Henrietta. I felt like our boys tried hard. No doubt in my mind that we tried hard. But it's too late now. You blew Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And because of that, you saw the result. We struggled. Now, part of that was injuries, and part of that was, a bad snap here and there. But we still struggled because of the lackadaisical practices that we went through. This week's been much better. And again, I can preach that all day long, but if somebody on the football team, usually it needs to be a senior, doesn't step up and say, hey, let's do this right. This football season, we're already halfway through the season, the regular season. This thing's about to be over. Let's take every day, and let's get after it. Don't take this for granted.
Another long trip tonight. You go to Nocona. The Lobos need another win to stay on pace with Eastland as far as the district championship race goes. What should we expect tonight? I know you mentioned, I'm going to introduce a term here, yellow dog-itis that the 7th grade had to deal with last night. What should we expect tonight from the Lobos against the Indians?
Well, they do it. They have a great scheme. Coach Keck really does do a good job. They run a 4-3 on defense. One of the first things that we've had to start kind of dealing with is one techniques that are trying to penetrate and shoot the A-gap. And they did that at every level yesterday, and it does give us some problems. The penetration will cut off the backside guard, and we're pulling that backside guard on a lot of our offense. So he cannot penetrate. We will have to tighten down our splits a little to prevent that penetration so we can get linemen out on certain plays. They backed the middle linebacker up to about 6 yards and just kind of let him run free back there. He's doing a pretty good job of it. Their defensive ends on the tight end side of the 7 tech, he's responsible for C-gap. They gap exchange very similar to how we gap exchange out of our 4-3. We simply have a 9 and they have a 7. So the sound backer's already out of the box. We have responded pretty well to that. I think for the most part we will know what to do tonight, and I think we'll get the look that we worked on all week long. And offensively, they run a very similar offense to what Holiday ran. They're very spread. We played Coach Keck and Nakona in a playoff game in 2006 or 8. I can't even remember now when. And they were predominantly I. They had a fullback, there were 2 backs. He's made that change in the last 2 years of almost all spread. And they run a lot of bubbles, they run some counters. They'll read the quarterback counter. Probably their most effective play is some version of the counter. But very well coached. They were just young, but they're kids, you can tell, play with excitement. I really feel like they would play hard today.
All right, there you have it. Coach West, I want to wish you guys all the luck in the world. It'll be a long night, and it'll start early again tomorrow for you guys getting ready for the next week. But best of luck tonight, and more than anything, we'll just pray for health. Maybe we can get out of this one without a nick or a bruise here and there. That's what we're hoping for anyway. I want to remind everyone that the pregame show will start at 7 o'clock tonight on KWBY Radio. You can also tune in on your smartphone or computer, whatever you want to tune in, KATXradio.com. Click on the logo, and you can listen to that live there as well. 7:30 kickoff tonight in Nakona. Make sure you're tuned in. If you can't make it out to Nakona tonight, be sure to tune in. And once again, thank everybody here at First Financial Bank for bringing the weekly broadcast of the Cisco Morning Huddle. Appreciate all their help. Right now, it's time for us to step away and make way for the Eastland Morning Huddle with Terry Slavens and Coach Cliff Watkins for the Mavericks. I want to say thanks to Stace back in the studio for engineering us. And until next week, we'll see you guys later. Have a great weekend.